Hello, my beautiful friends. I am Bleadon-Maffei with Illuminating Souls, welcoming you to this episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings, a podcast designed to help you rest, relax, and fall asleep, all while deepening in your connection with your beautiful team of angels who love you so. I am an angelic practitioner, a spiritual teacher, and an encourager of souls. And I have the most wonderful job ever. I teach classes, and I facilitate one-on-one sessions. And I absolutely love getting to support you on your journey. I've been doing this work full-time since 2006. And one of the things that I often contemplate and feel so blessed by in terms of my business is that so many of you have been with me for a very, very long time. It's such an honor. I think sometimes people drift in and out of their spiritual teachers or their inspirers, and many of you have been with me for many, many years, and I just want to say thank you. If you're new to this podcast or we're just meeting for the first time, welcome. I look forward to supporting you as well. And you can learn more about my work and my offerings at my website, illuminatingsouls.com. All of my classes take place over Zoom, so wherever you are in the world, you can join us. My classes tend to be small in size, so there's an opportunity for us to really get to know each other. There's a beautiful intimacy to the work that I do. And you can also sign up for my mailing list on my website as well, and I post daily to Facebook. So there's lots of ways to connect, but for now, the angels and I are here to create a cozy, soothing space where you can let go, relax, where I can keep you company for the next hour or so. If it is your bedtime, my hope is that you will drift off to sleep before this episode is over. And if you're listening during your waking hours, my hope is I'll be good company for you as you go about your day. So whenever you choose to listen, even though this is a sleep podcast, my hope is that you feel the love flowing to you. And I keep you mildly amused. I say mildly because I don't want to be too amusing that you can't go to sleep if that's your intention. Because this is a sleep podcast because I love them. I've been listening to them for many years now, and I listen to one every night to help me fall asleep. As I've shared with you before, I love bedtime. Oh, bedtime is one of my favorite times of the day, and it's not because I do not enjoy waking life. I love my life, and I love bedtime. I love that I've come to the end of my day, and my body is getting a little tired, and I get to climb into this cocoon of softness and comfort. And I put in my earbuds. I use wired earbuds, and I queue up an episode of a podcast. Right now I'm listening to the Sleepy Bookshelf, which I love, and they are reading Sense and Sensibility. I never read the book. I just watched the movie, the Emma Thompson movie, which I adore, and I've never read the book, so it's interesting to me to hear the book. I think I'm on episode 17, so there's 25 altogether, and I'm enjoying it. I fall asleep always before an episode is over, so I start the episode the next night halfway through. And I love the experience of hearing a voice softly speak to me as I am drifting off to sleep. I must go back to childhood. I actually don't have any memories of my mom or dad reading me to sleep. I'm sure they did. But I definitely have memories of hearing my parents' voices. My sister and I had a bedroom on the second floor, and there were many nights our father slept or napped on our floor between our beds, and we would tell stories to each other. And it felt so safe. My father was someone who always made me feel safe, and so there was something very cozy about drifting off to sleep with our father sleeping right there with us. At some point, my dad would get up and go downstairs. I would imagine he probably was only there for 15 minutes, but as a little girl, to me, it felt like he slept there the whole night. And then we would hear our parents downstairs. They'd be watching television or talking to each other, and it was something that brought me great comfort. So even today, I fall asleep with my sleep podcast, and I almost always go to sleep before my husband does. He stays up a little bit later than I do, and I mean, the truth is I fall asleep before almost everybody because I am usually in bed by 8 o'clock, but I'm also up by 3, so I have a weird circadian rhythm these days. So I go to sleep and my husband is watching television and, puttering around the house, and that brings me comfort. He's here, and I feel very safe with him as well. So my hope is this podcast can be that for you. That as you tune in, you know that you are loved and that your angels are with you. And that this broadcast is infused with prayers of love for you. So I invite you to get cozy in whatever way works best for you. To snuggle on up and cozy on in, or cozy on in and snuggle on up. And we'll be keeping you company for the next hour or so. The way these episodes are structured is usually the first 15 or 20 minutes I'm rambling to you as I am now, and I'll be bringing in the angels for you. And then we move into story time. And story time can be stories from my own life. We might flip through the pages of an old community cookbook or magazine that's in the public domain. In this episode, it's going to be the favorite for many of you because you tell me this. We're going to go through the pages of an old TV guide from 1983. So lots of good stuff to share with you from this TV guide. But first, let the angels put in an appearance so that they spread a blanket of love here for you. So just take a nice deep breath in and just let it go. Whatever your it is, whatever came before this moment, just let it go. And just breathe into your center and let the angels flow their love to you. And I'm going to say a prayer blessing that invites the angels in. They're already here, but I love sharing the ritual with you. So beautiful angels on high, I invite you to join us here. And I ask that you infuse this broadcast with waves of love and healing and comfort and light in service to each of our beloveds listening to this message. And dear ones, just take a nice deep breath in, and if you have prayers or intentions you wish to share with God and the angels, I invite you to bring them into your heart. We are in an amplified energy field. And it's a beautiful time to bring your prayers and intentions forward. I mean, you always can. Any time of the day or night, you don't have to be in a specific kind of energy field. But I always appreciate the invitation. And we'll just breathe together for another moment or two. And the angels are infusing the space you are in with a beautiful, soft, pink light that is filled with love that has been calibrated just for you. And this light is rippling to all that you love and to all that loves you. This light is rippling across the timeline of your life. That your past, your present, and future are being infused with this love. And so the angels are bringing to you the beautiful vibration of peace and quiet. The angels are here to remind you that you are cherished and you are precious and you are a blessing here in this world. As I record this, it is not only early morning, but very early morning, so it's still dark out and everything is quiet. It's such a great time of the morning. And it's very conducive to sleep. So I send you these beautiful sleepy vibes. I send you sweetness and goodness. And just breathe. And allow the love to soak into all that you are. Allow your body to receive this love and your mind and your heart. Allow this love to ripple to every circumstance in your life, known and unknown, seen and unseen. And know that this moment is filled with so much love for you. And I am deeply grateful for the gift of you. And allow yourself to breathe. I know I keep saying that, and you're breathing anyways. You don't need me to remind you to breathe, but there is something about a meaningful breath that helps bring us to center. And for me anyways, that breath helps me let go. I don't even need to know what I'm letting go of. We all carry tension, when someone says, just go ahead and relax your shoulders. And I don't know about you, but I all of a sudden notice how tight my shoulders are. So this invitation to relax my shoulders and relax my neck, I can feel those small little muscles letting go and relaxing. And so this is your invitation to rest, unless you're operating heavy machinery, and then please stay alert and aware. But if this is your bedtime, you can drift off whenever. I won't share anything so important that you have to stay awake. And you can always go back and listen to it later. I wish you the sweetest of dreams, and we're going to move on into story time. So this story time is inspired by a 1983 TV guide that I purchased off of eBay. And on the cover is the actors who played Greg and Jenny on All My Children, along with Erika Kane. So in terms of the actors, Kim Delaney played Jenny, Lawrence Lau played Greg, and of course, Susan Lucci, goddess extraordinaire, who played Erika Kane on All My Children. I shared with you, 5 or 6 episodes ago that I was going to do this episode for you, and then I hadn't gotten to it. And I purchased this issue specifically because of the Greg and Jenny storyline, because it was such a big part of that time of my life. My girlfriends and I all watched All My Children, and we loved Greg and Jenny. And even if you never watched All My Children and never cared about soap operas, I'll do my best to continue to entertain you. But maybe for you, Greg and Jenny were a part of your, the summer of love storylines on the soap operas, because many summers the soaps would feature star-crossed lovers who were always young on the soaps in the summer, because that's when the viewers who would be interested in those storylines were out of school. It's 1983. Many households still don't have VCRs. So I am 21 years old and living at home. I had moved back home because I was attending Columbia College in Chicago, where I was studying television broadcast. I was just musing about that before I recorded this, and I thought, it's so interesting. All these years later, I'm not applying for jobs anywhere, but if I were, it would still matter that I have a 4-year degree. And I think, wow, I think so very little of what I learned back in the 80s would still apply to the job market today. But I do. I have a 4-year degree from Columbia College in television broadcast. Yay me. So the Greg and Jenny storyline was very typical for soap operas. So Greg was the handsome, football player from a wealthy family. And Jenny was a beautiful, heart-centered girl from the wrong side of the tracks. And everybody conspired for them not to be together. I actually printed out their Wikipedia, and in a 12-point type, it's 3 pages long, which is crazy. I have forgotten how much this couple went through. There were some really wonderful, very iconic elements to their storyline. The villainess of the story was Liza Colby. Every soap needs its villains who you love to hate. And Liza Colby was a wonderful villain that we loved to hate. She wanted Greg, and she was from a wealthy family. So Greg should have loved her. But he did not. He loved Jenny. So Liza did everything she could to break them up. And Jenny's best friend was Jessie, played by Darnell Williams, who was fantastic. And at some point, Jenny and Jessie, as friends, they were just friends, run away to New York because Jenny's going to be a model after Liza manages to get Jenny to break up with Greg. I'm not going to go into the whole storyline because it's very convoluted. And that was a very iconic storyline of Jenny and Jessie in New York. So I just remember really loving them. It was a very innocent storyline for a soap. And, it wasn't overly titillating kind of thing. It wasn't overly there weren't a lot of bed scenes, romance scenes like that. It was very sweet and innocent for a soap opera, I would say. And then the actress Kim Delaney decides to leave All My Children. And she has one of the most iconic death scenes in a soap opera. And here's where I need to give my little soap opera rant for a moment. Every few years, soap operas will have changing of the guard, meaning a new head writer will come in, a new producer, and they're usually brought in to boost ratings. And more often than it should, they decide they're going to do their thing with a soap opera and not honor the history or the viewers of a soap. And the thing about these kinds of soaps is people watch them for years, decades. They are in relationship with these characters. They're with them day in and day out. So my opinion is, if you come in as a producer or head writer on a soap, you must honor the viewers and the characters. And more often than it should happen, they won't. So Kim Delaney decides she is leaving All My Children for Greener Pastures, which is not the name of a soap opera. It is simply a metaphor. And so they're going to kill off Jenny. Now, characters get killed off all the time in a soap opera, and a good head writer will kill them off in a way they can come back from the dead a few years later. And that happens all the time on soaps. So if someone is lost in a boating accident at sea and their body is never found, you know they're coming back at some point. They're going to recast, or they're going to wait a few years and the actor will come back. And so there's a way to do this that the character can be resurrected, literally. But with Kim Delaney's Jenny, she was with a different guy, Tony, because, she and Greg had broken up because of the shenanigans of Liza and other things, and they really loved each other. And at some point, Greg and Jenny get back together, and Tony has turned into this stalker, evil villain guy, but he's trying to be a nice guy. And they're out on some sort of, weekend trip to the lake. And Tony rigs the jet ski to explode when Greg is on it, because he's going to kill off Greg, and then he's going to get to have Jenny all to himself. But what happens? Jenny gets on the jet ski, much to Tony's horror, and Jenny gets blown up on the jet ski. This really horrible. I don't mean horrible like it was, graphic. I just mean a horrible storyline. So her character has one of the most iconic deaths in the soap opera world of, everyone knows that Jenny got exploded on a jet ski. And that death was a death you can't come back from. If she had fallen off the jet ski and her body was never recovered, they could have brought her back, right? She has amnesia and she's a waitress now at a town that's 200 miles away. And then somebody from Pine Valley, which is the town where All My Children takes place, sees her, but she doesn't know them. And they're going to keep this a secret. It could be a whole thing. And that storyline has actually played out more than once on a soap opera. But alas, they killed her dead. And so the only way Jenny ever reappeared on the soap opera, it was as a ghost. Not as a true apparition, but in someone's dream or something, she showed up. So just to, I don't think I have any future soap opera writers listening right now, but if you do ever move into that profession, please be loyal to your viewers who have been loyal to the soap for years, and don't kill characters dead. We know the difference. We know that if somebody falls off a mountain and no one ever finds them again, we're willing to suspend disbelief and let them come back at some point because we love the characters and the actors so much. And also, I don't really watch soaps anymore. I don't have the patience for them, and I think I've aged out. They're just, I don't know. There's nothing there for me anymore. Although I will say I did watch a few moments of General Hospital recently because Jonathan Jackson has returned as Lucky Spencer. I loved Lucky Spencer and Jonathan Jackson in that role, and so I watched a little bit of it. But it's not enough to draw me back into watching. So that's a little backstory about Greg and Jenny and why their actors are on the cover with Susan Lucci. Amazing is Erika, Kane, and All My Children on the cover of this TV guide. Okay, so now we're going to focus on this issue of TV Guide. So I don't know how much more we'll be talking about soaps, but that was a little soapy backstory. So this is the last week in February into early March of 1983. As I said, I am going to Columbia College. I do believe at this point we have our first VCR at my parents' house, which was a Betamax. We went beta because I'd heard it had a superior picture, and since I was majoring in television at the time, that is what I recommended to my parents. So we were a Betamax family, not a VHS family. VHS ultimately won the format wars. But the reason this is important is because I could now record my soap operas. So now I could watch soaps every day. God bless my parents. I don't know at what point I was watching these things, but I got to record them, for which I was grateful. So in 1983, soap operas are still a huge moneymaker for the networks. The three major networks all air soaps during the daytime. The ABC block was, I don't know if Ryan's Hope was still on the air, but it also then became Loving, so there was that. Then All My Children, then One Life to Live, and then General Hospital. And then CBS had Young and the Restless, As the World Turns, and Guiding Light. And NBC had, I think, Another World. At some point, Santa Barbara came on, and Days of Our Lives, which is still going strong. So it says that the top-rated soap opera at this time was General Hospital. And it had 7.9 million households watching. I don't know if that's a lot for a soap, but that was the top rated soap. There is an ad here for HBO, so cable television was a thing at this point. I don't think we subscribed. But they are airing Chariots of Fire. They have a Robin Williams special, which must have been great at that point. They have a Blondie concert and boxing. Now here's something iconic that is happening this week. The final episode of MASH is airing. And at this point, we don't know what it's going to be. Of course, now the final episode is iconic, if you like MASH. So I remember there being a lot of conversation about that. So here it says, goodbye, farewell, and amen. The final lines are spoken. An unseen director yells, cut. The camera pulls back, revealing Al and Alda, discussing the differences between a weekly sitcom and the horrors of real war. The last moments of this week's final 2.5-hour MASH episode on CBS. So I absolutely remember that. We were looking forward to it, and I think we collectively were sad it was going off the air, but it was time. It was a marvelous show if you've never seen it. I can't imagine you've never seen it, but it was definitely part of the fabric of our television viewing lives. So again, referencing soaps, they are so popular that they even have their own soaps section in this TV guide. And here's something that's so interesting to me. So the actor David Canary, who would go on to play the iconic Adam Chandler on All My Children, had just exited his role on Another World, and he was going to be focusing on Broadway. Within a year or two, he would be on All My Children and remain there for the rest of his career as Adam Chandler, who was a very wealthy, villainous man who you loved to love and hate at the same time. So he wasn't like a Snidely Whiplash villain. He just was more Machiavellian, right? Ooh, I can't believe I just pulled that word out of thin air. You know, he was always manipulating people. He couldn't help himself. And his character was brought on to be a foil for Palmer Courtland, the other wealthy billionaire, maybe millionaire, but it was the 80s, in Pine Valley. And also there's an article here about Stuart Damon, who played, of course, Alan Quartermain on General Hospital. And for those of you who know, you know, he played the prince in Rodgers and Hammerstein's Cinderella that aired in the 60s every year. So, Prince Charming. From Prince to Alan Quartermain, who was also kind of a wicked character, but he was great. Like, people just get away with a lot of stuff on soaps, but that's what we love to see. Okay, and then they have the sports section, which I don't care. Like, I don't care. So you might, but I'm not going to read it. Let's see what else we can find. So we get to the TV listings, and the TV guide always would start on Saturdays. And being a teenager, no, I'm not a teenager, I'm a 21-year-old. Oh, even more relevant. There's no way I'm up in the morning on Saturday mornings anymore. I'm sleeping until at least noon, because I'm definitely in the age stage where I would go out with my friends. Well, I actually wasn't 21 yet. I was 20. I was a few months away from being 21, a big milestone. So of course there's all kinds of cartoons and Solid Gold and American Bandstand playing, but I'm not watching any of that. I'm asleep. If I'm not asleep, I'm probably at the mall with my girlfriends. So Saturday night, we've got Different Strokes airing. I never liked that show. Something called Wizards and Warriors, which is a new show with Jeff Conway as Prince Eric of Greystone. I don't think I ever saw that. And TJ Hooker, which I didn't care for. That was with William Shatner. And I don't remember who else. Silver Spoons followed Different Strokes. So, you know, both about children growing up in wealthy households. Mama's Family. Now, I love Carol Burnett. I could never stand Mama's Family. Definitely wouldn't be watching that. Now, the Love Boat Fantasy Island doubleheader is still on. But I think at that age, I didn't care anymore. When I was younger, I watched them. But at this point, I'm too cool for them. But on this one, we've got a judge, played by Esther Roll, is summoned to help April Lopez, played by Charo, who always showed up on these shows, who is leaving the U.S. because she's afraid to take the citizenship test. A new steward, played by Greg Henry, locks horns with the abusive son, Michael J. Fox, of wealthy parents, played by Barbara Billingsley and Don Porter. A young woman, Mary McDonough, who I believe played one of the Walton girls on A Walton's Family, selects a young passenger, Brodie Greer, for her first mate. I'm almost positive I want to watch that. And there's a series called Family Tree, which I don't recall at all, with Anne Archer. On Fantasy Island, we've got an ugly duckling played by Marky Post, who is gorgeous, seeks revenge on a former college roommate who ridiculed her. And then a singer, Lou Rawls, wants to make it big at the Cotton Club in 1925. And Sybil Shepherd is on this. She must have been the girl who bullied Marky Post. And since it's Saturday, it is time for Saturday Night Live. So Jeff and Beau Bridges host together, and Randy Newman is the musical guest. I don't know if this is the time when Short People was a hit, or if it was beyond that. So I don't know what he'd be singing, but this is the version of Saturday Night Live where Eddie Murphy is in the cast with Joe Piscopo, Tim Kazurinsky, and Mary Gross. I remember that era. And then it looks like there's nothing good on in the early morning, although Taxi Driver's on, which I wouldn't have watched, but that's a pretty good movie to be on at 12:30 in the morning. And so we'll move on into Sunday. And I'll also just have to say how, like, Sundays were just like Death Valley of programming. Like, there was nothing on that I wanted to watch, but now we had a VCR. So now I could watch a whole week's worth of soaps, or we could watch a movie. We're now entering the era where we can choose our programming. And this is a game changer. So now it didn't matter if there was nothing on. We could have recorded things and watched them later, which gave us a lot of freedom. And can I just share with you what I mean by sort of like Death Valley of programming? Here's our choices. We have boxing. Okay, 20-year-old me doesn't care. We have golf. I care even less about golf. Soundstage, which was never playing any music I cared about. Sports World has, let's see who's in this. It looks like it's more boxing, of which I care about none at all. Part 2 of Walking Tall, the movie, which I wouldn't have watched. The Wild World of Sports compete in they have the Ironman Triathlon. I really don't care. We've got a John Wayne Rock Hudson movie I wouldn't want to watch, although I will say now in 2024 my husband would be delighted to find that on television. He's so cute. I love him. Oh my God, there's more boxing. This is like a whole day of boxing. And then we move into the political shows. Inside Washington. My parents loved those shows. I didn't care. The kinds of television shows that are on at this point is something called Voyagers, which I don't remember. Ripley's Believe It or Not. 60 Minutes is on. Well, okay, as I've shared with you before, 60 Minutes was a must-watch in our household. Not for me, but for my parents. Nothing would have ever come on that would allow us kids to win watching something else in that time slot. 60 Minutes always won. So, shout out to my parents. But you know what is... Oh, also Chips is on later in the evening. Archie Bunker's Place, Matt Houston. But the thing I got excited to share with you is they're airing the movie 9 to 5, which was such a good movie, of course, with Lily Tomlin, Dolly Parton, Jane Fonda, and Dabney Coleman. That was such a good movie, and it's now airing on network television. I'm sure we watched this. I don't know that my parents would have seen it in the movie theater, so I'm sure this is the kind of movie, if they hadn't seen it, I would have said, we have to watch this. You guys are going to love it. It's like 9 to 5 is the kind of movie you could show to anyone of any age and they would enjoy it. Airing opposite of this is what looks to be a horrible movie called Cocaine, One Man's Seduction, with Dennis Weaver, Karen Grassel, Pamela Bellwood, and I can only assume a very, very young James Spader. I think James Spader is probably right around my age, so again, probably 20 years old, 21 years old at that point. Oh my God, A Wealth of Riches, the other thing that's airing. Okay, the other thing that's airing is the world TV premiere of a movie called Starflight, The Plane That Couldn't Land. Oh, this is fantastic. A new passenger plane, the world's fastest, bound for Australia with 65 men, women, and children on board. Suddenly out of control, it fell into deep space. Don't you hate when that happens? With only hours between rescue and disaster. Okay, this is brilliant. Here's the casting. Lee Majors. He's wearing pilot clothes, so he must be a pilot. His wife is on Earth. His love is on board. Uh-oh. Lee Majors. What you doing there? Hal Linden, a.k.a. Barney Miller. The plane means more than his family, so he must be the businessman, the wealth magnate behind this plane. Lauren Hutton, beautiful, passionate, fighting for her man. She must have been the head flight attendant, who would have been called a stewardess back then. Ray Milland, he cares more for power than people. I love that some writer had to come up with, 6 words to describe this character. Gail Strickland, for her, marriage is the real disaster. Robert Webber, TV newsman, sending the world the story. Okay, so we would have been watching 9 to 5. Not a chance we would have watched something else, but I loved how bad these kinds of movies were back then. We loved a good disaster film back then. Okay, and at this point, I think Oprah Winfrey is local to Baltimore, I think, because this is a Washington-Baltimore issue of TV Guide. And it says, Oprah's on All My Children. Get a preview of Oprah's cameo role and meet the show's casting director, plus a surprise co-star. Now, here's why I think this is when Oprah was still local. Because Oprah's national show, I don't think started until somewhere around 1984. Somewhere between 83 and 84. Yeah, it must be 1984 because I had an internship at WFLD TV in Chicago my senior year in college, which was 1984. And one of the producers who I knew there, his name was Rudy, would leave WFLD to go help launch Oprah's national show. So this was before Oprah was a household word. And so I think she must still be local to the Baltimore, Washington area at this point. Oh, here, this is going to give us some insight about VCRs. It says, introducing Rent a Colors Matinee Special. Rent a $750 home movie theater for only $33.95 a month. So you can rent a VCR. I don't know if we had one at home at that point then, if they cost $750. I don't think we had that kind of discretionary income as a family back then. but I think we did. I don't know. And of course, because it is a magazine in 1983, we have our obligatory diet ad. Okay, it's the stuff of nightmares. You have this very, very thin, model-esque woman. She is wrapped in a towel, and she's got like a towel turban on her head. Her one leg is provocatively positioned outside of the slit in the towel, and this woman has never had an obesity issue in her life, ever. And it says the only diet in the world that lets you eat anything you want 4 days a week and still lose up to 20 pounds the first month. It's so, with 3 O's, it's so easy. Get full details today by calling 1-800-WE-ARE-SHYSTERS. Of course, that's not what it said. That's just, of course, my own editorial. It's horrific. These ads were just horrific. But that's old stuff. Okay. Anything else I want to tell you about Sunday? I don't see anything I'm excited about for you. Or for me. Or for us. Okay, let's see what else I can find. As I flip us over to Monday morning, this is the era where David Hartman is hosting Good Morning America. I just remember him. He had a real sense of trustworthiness, I seem to recall. Phil Donahue is on the air. New York State Education Commissioner Gordon M. Umbach discusses his plan to start children in kindergarten at age 4 and have them graduate after the 11th grade. Sesame Street is on. People Are Talking, scheduled a sneak peek of Oprah Winfrey's network acting debut on All My Children. I don't remember that at all, but it would be because I didn't know who she was. She wasn't the Oprah we know yet. Ooh, on Our Magazine, Anthony Geary and Denise Alexander, both of General Hospital. Okay, hold on. This is where punctuation is really important. I'm just going to read to you how it read to me for a second. Anthony Geary and Denise Alexander, General Hospital, massage for pregnant women, making tacos and tortillas. So for just that split second, I thought Tony Geary and Denise Alexander were massaging pregnant women, which made 0 sense. So Anthony Geary, of course, played Luke Spencer on General Hospital, and Denise Alexander played Leslie Weber, who was Laura Spencer's mother. So she played Luke Spencer's mother-in-law. I'm positive they did not massage pregnant women. This is where the punctuation is important. It's Anthony Geary and Denise Alexander of General Hospital, : that's important. Punctuation. Massage for pregnant women, : making tacos and tortillas. Oh, that might be a semicolon there. It's very small print, and I'm not going to work that hard to figure that out. In terms of syndication, we've got Laverne and Shirley, Andy Griffith, and I'm laughing because the game show Sale of the Century is on. And in 1985 or 86, I would go on to be a contestant on Sale of the Century. And there's a whole episode of Sleepy Bedtime Blessings about that. Just search for my game show adventures and you will hear all about it. And I did not win anything other than their parting prizes of Echo Bakeware and a year's supply of artificial sweetener. But what are you going to do? I was on TV, so it was awesome. Okay, and I'm just quickly looking through what's on in the daytime. Aerobicize. This was the era of aerobics. Jane Fonda aerobics, high-cut leotards, aerobicize. Oh, this was not a good era for me. I do not have a leotard-friendly body type. And we didn't know about yoga pants back then. So that was a whole thing. Oh, and good. Here's another thing about dieting. This is going to be for a TV story on the local news. It says The Battle of the Bulge. And there is a photograph of a very overweight man with a very short tie and, like a long sleeve dress shirt, trying to pull his belt around his very large belly. I mean, I hate these tropes. Like, this is terrible. For years, you've been fighting those unwanted pounds and inches, but now, amidst all the fad diets and exercise programs, medical specialist Dr. Mary Mordern brings you a weight program you can live with. Yeah, I'm sure that worked. Thanks. And Carol Burnett and friends, she is Sammy Davis Jr., who at that point I did not love and I would come to love later. Oh, Doctor Who. I don't know who the Doctor Who was at that point. I would not love Doctor Who until the time of the 50th anniversary special of Doctor Who, and the first episode I ever saw was the Weeping Angels episode. And then I got hooked. And Wes and I watched all the new revival Doctor Who's. My favorite Doctor Who's are David Tennant, of course, and Matt Smith. I absolutely loved David Tennant's Doctor Who with Donna Noble. Wes doesn't like those ones. I loved them. And I loved Matt Smith. His Doctor Who with, of course, Amy Pond were my favorites. And anything with River Song. Like, give me anything with River Song and I'm completely all in. I really wish they would just bring her back with a new doctor. That would be awesome. And so now we're on Monday night. And this will be the last episode, the finale for MASH. I know for sure we were watching that. Also on is Beretta with Robert Blake, which I watched because it involved a cockatoo. It didn't require a lot for me to be amused back in the day. And Alice is on. Alice sights a UFO. I'm sure she did. And let's see what else is on. That's Incredible. Oh my God, I never liked that show. That's Incredible. Didn't like it. Let's see what else I can come up with. Oh, it's the TV premiere of American Gigolo with Richard Gere. He's the highest paid lover in Beverly Hills, and he leaves women feeling more alive than they've ever felt before, except one. Starring Richard Gere and Lauren Hutton. I don't think I ever saw American Gigolo, but it definitely was part of the popular conversation back then. And then there is an insert for the Doubleday Book Club bestsellers. 99 cents with membership. So some of the books are Helen Gurley Brown, Having It All, Love, Success, Sex, and Money. And she was the editor of Cosmopolitan, Cosmo, to those of us who were readers at the time. And believe it or not, there's yet another ad for some sort of diet program. Okay, doctor guarantees fast weight loss of 20, 50, 100 pounds or more. As much as you need, as fast as you can. Wow. No pills, no drugs, no devices. My individual plans have been successful with over 10,000 patients, some of whom are pictured here. I'm sure. So here's an ad. I lost 69 pounds, says Susan Hoffmeyer, a baton twirling champ. If you cannot trust a baton twirling champ, I mean, what's sacred anymore, right? I lost 69 pounds and I'm still losing. I was never hungry or tired. I have more energy than before. It's wonderful. You lose the weight and Dr. Levine does all the worrying. He changed my eating patterns and my life. Okay, I just love that she is a baton twirling champion. Harvey Leonard lost 93 pounds in 5 months. Nothing worrying about that at all. I lost 93 pounds in 5 months and kept it off for 5 years. I lost 12 inches from my waistline and 9 inches from my hips. I never felt better, and I have more energy and I'm more alert. And may I just tell you, this there's one picture of this gentleman where he does not look healthy. He is very thin and doesn't look healthy. I mean, I'm not saying he isn't healthy. This isn't, I don't know, a picture where I go, wow, he is the picture of good health. I want to be just like him. Okay, but wait, there's more. So that was one full page, and then you flip the page, and there's a whole spread. Lose up to 20 pounds the first week. Average fat and fluid loss is 10 to 12 pounds. It must involve you not eating or drinking anything and being in a sauna. Lose up to 40 pounds in just a month. Again, no, the average is 20 to 25. And pay nothing now. See, this is why I was so messed up about the fact that I could not lose weight, because clearly it was possible to lose 20 pounds in a week. Right? It's like they set the bar pretty high. So if I only lost a quarter pound at Weight Watchers, clearly it was because I was the problem. Say goodbye to fat forever. I don't care how fat you are. Some of my patients are hyper obese. I don't care how many diets you've been on. Wow, he really cares. Or how many times you've thrown away your money on the latest weight loss fad or gimmick. If your only health problem is fat, your problem is over. I mean, listen, my Slim Fast plan, I wonder if this was the precursor to Slim Fast. It takes their excess weight off. You can lose 5 to 8 pounds in 48 hours. I mean, come on. You can lose 5 to 8 pounds in 48 hours. Who doesn't want that to happen? Oh my God. Is it possible that I could go back and sue them now, all these years later? Do you think that I could find a lawyer to take on this case, even though these people might not be alive anymore, that I could just karmically sue them for this? This is crazy. 40 pounds in a month. Sure, that's realistic. I've had bariatric surgery. I've never lost 40 pounds in a month. And that would not be healthy, by the way. You'll start out on my specially developed Slim Fast formula, a tasty and nutritious mixture that will help turn your body into a fat-burning furnace from glassful to glassful. You will literally burn up fat, melt away excess weight, and reduce bulging body measurements the very first day. This must be the precursor to the Slim Fast we know about now, which means somebody made a ton of money on this awfulness. So Norma Nadeo lost 55 pounds. I mean, probably overnight, right? But she didn't. But it just says, I lost 55 pounds and I feel great. I'm happy for you. And this is the Body Shop Inc. in Scarsdale, New York. And they have whatever you're ordering. It doesn't even say what you're ordering. Oh, they're the shakes. Yeah, those shakes. Vanilla or chocolate. I'm sure they were delicious. Strawberry, whatever you want. Oh my God. I did a liquid protein diet when I was about 14 or 15 years old. I mean, the things I have done to mess up my metabolism. It's crazy. Sending healing light across all dimensions of time. We are able to do that. So let's take a deep breath in And if you were alive in 1983 and you were seeing ads like this and they caused you to wonder what was wrong with you, let us send a huge wave of healing light across time and space and just release all of that. We know that that's not the truth anymore. So I will just flip the page and say, oy vey. No wonder I was so messed up. That was then and this is now, though. So we're good. We're good. Ooh, we have lived our way into a new tomorrow where we know so much more than we used to. I wish I could take my understanding, my compassion, and my knowingness and send it back in time, which I kind of can, right? Because it references how I hold those times in consciousness now with so much compassion for the expression of me that was struggling so deeply back then. And that is the beauty of time, that we live our way into our brighter tomorrows. And we understand more now than we ever did before about a whole lot of things. You know, things that we used to believe as fact that now we know are untrue, and we have evolved our consciousness, evolved our beliefs. So, I don't know, it's weird. As much as I am in disbelief when I read these ads, I also have so much compassion for the expression of me that was kind of soaking that into my psyche. That I spent much of my life believing that if I could simply change my behavior, this experience of my body would heal. And I've come to learn that it's not that changing behavior doesn't matter, but it also is not the entire answer by a long shot. And I'm sure you have your own experiences of other aspects of life that you've had those experiences of. Because if you live long enough, and most of us have, we have been here for evolution of consciousness in our lives, in the culture. So here's to brighter tomorrows. We have lived our way into being able to watch anything we want, whenever we want on television, not being beholden to the networks, understanding more about health and wellness, and having this amazing technology called the internet, where I can record this podcast while it's still dark out on a Sunday morning and publish it so that you can listen to it later this evening. So life is good, and I'm glad to be here with you. Thank you for letting me share some snippets of my life with you. I send you love. I am grateful for you. And I wish you the sweetest of dreams. We'll talk again soon. Thank you.